Oh, it's hot. Definitely burnt my tongue. Hey guys, welcome to the very first installment of Book Bros. I'm Brandon, your number one book bro. Love to read, love being a bro. Let's mold them together. You got Book Bros. First book that I've read, it's a cracker. It's non-fiction. It's called Outlive by Peter Attia. And man, this book was just so full of just pearls and nuggets of wisdom. I'm just going to say right away, I love this book. That's why I'm enthusiastic about it. You know, if I didn't like the book, I'd probably start the video saying, oh yeah, I read this book, blah, 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 blah. But no, this book's great. And I'm going to talk about all of the stuff that I've gleaned from this book, so you can learn it too. The writing style is excellent. It's not too technical, but it's just technical enough that you know this guy probably knows what he's talking about. And you know, he actually does know what he's talking about, because digging into this guy, you can see that he's been on many podcasts, he's been on Joe Rogan, he's got his own clinic for practicing and administering this new brand of medicine that he calls Medicine 3.0, which takes a more holistic, long-term, you're in control of the own ship approach to medicine, unlike the Band-Aid solution that medicine's got. And you know, medicine's great. Medicine's great at what it does, but it does have its shortfalls. We'll get into that shortly. So you may be asking, what's this book about? It's about longevity and wanting to get the most out of life. So a lot of people's lifespan is like this. You know, very, very, very healthy until you're about your 40s, and then you start to decline. And it becomes more like a triangle. So the total area under the curve, I would say maximum amount of healthy time is one amount. But Peter wants to aim to increase your health span as well as your lifespan. So it gets like this, and then it steeply drops off. There's a larger area under the curve, and hence there's more time that you are spent healthy and full of life. You get the most out of life. And that's the overall objective of the book, but there's more to health and getting good health than just having a vague objective, because we need to outline not only our strategy, but our tactics for how we get there. And if our objective is wanting to live and be as healthy as we can, our overall strategy involves knowing what we're up against. So statistically, 80% of individuals over the age of 50 who are non-smokers in Western societies die of just 4 things. These 4 horsemen are atherosclerotic diseases, plaques in your arteries, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, cancer, and functional diseases, which are a spectrum of diseases like diabetes and fatty liver diseases that affect just the functional state of our body and our tissues. And Peter argues that knowing about these 4 horsemen can help us prevent them. He goes into much better detail in the book on the strategy and understanding these diseases than I ever could, as I'm not an expert in this field. So this brings us to the tactics, which is the low-level, day-to-day things that we could be doing to help prevent these 4 horsemen and other health ailments and live a longer, healthier life. And look, having a holistic understanding of this, our objective, our strategy, and our tactics is important. And that's why I'd urge you to read this book, because it's a great book, great read, but I'm here just to break down the tactics outlined in this book. First, there are 5 sort of main segments that we can focus our tactics on. First being exercise, next being diet, the next being sleep, the next being emotional health and well-being, and the final one being exogenous compounds. Just a caveat that the final segment of exogenous compounds is not thoroughly covered in this book, because it would have blown out the book to twice its length. It needs to be covered. But basically, this is just Medicine 2.0 medications, such as statins for your heart and other supplements that can help you in your daily life. And as such, that they weren't covered in extensive detail in the book, I won't be covering them in this video. Okay, first, this brings us to exercise. Now, exercise is broken further down into just 4 sections. Because in being healthy and fit and strong individuals, we don't want to just be one-dimensional. We don't just want to be like super endurance cardio freaks and then lack strength and stability required, because it's all important. It's all important, guys. And we just don't want to be gym bros who are sucking in air when they walk up 2 flights of stairs, because that's not functional. That's not important. And what's the point of having all of these things? Strength, cardio, fitness, when we just get injured all the time. So these 4 sub-segments are cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, strength, and stability. Cardio endurance. So this is just the classic, I'm going for a run, a swim, a bike ride, just running. Peter Attia describes this in the zone training. So zone 1 being, I could do this all day, no strain whatsoever. Me sitting here, zone 1. This main cardio endurance is that zone 2 training, where I'm strained a little bit, my heart rate's getting a little bit up, but I can still talk while I do this. Peter argues that this should make up the bulk of our training, and right off the bat recommends 4 times per week that we do these. 4 about 30-minute sessions, if I remember rightly, of just zone 2 training. Now this can be anything from going for a walk, bike ride, run, swim, whatever that you think will help you in this. Going from potato fitness to elite fitness, you have a 5-factor reduction in all causes of morbidity. That's crazy. Now, if any drug did that, man, like it would be flying off the shelves. So specifically, why this is good is it can reduce your fatigue resistance. If you find that just walking up a flight of stairs gets you tired, you may need to improve your zone 2 endurance, cardio endurance capability. Hey Jess.
Hey mate.
I'm going to say hello to Jess right now, even though I'm recording. This type of training is also very, very good for increasing the strength of your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cell, and producing really, really efficient mitochondria. It also teaches your body to use those pathways to convert fat into energy, because kind of going in this zone 2 type of training, you use a bit more fat as your glycogen and glucose levels are likely to be depleted. So you know what they say, use it or you lose it. If you don't use these pathways for converting fat into energy, you're probably going to lose it, and you'll probably struggle to get those stubborn body fat cells off of your body. The second is VO2 max. So VO2 max is defined as the maximum amount of oxygen that you can get around your body to be utilized in creating energy for your body, or something along those lines. That's like the bro science definition. So this is when you're huffing and you're puffing. It's in zone 5. So we skip the zone 3 and 4, go straight to zone 5. It's a strained, hard sprint. It is just before your body starts to produce lactic acid. So we want to do this type of training at least once a week, guys. Doesn't matter what it is. If you like running, if you like swimming, just do those things a little bit harder. Just give some efforts in this, guys. Me personally, I love playing Aussie rules footy. Train twice a week. Play games once a week. Now, why this is important is VO2 max rapidly declines as we age, and we kind of want a higher starting level because of this decline. So just say, picking an arbitrary number here, a VO2 max of say 20 is required to climb some stairs. A VO2 max of 50 is required to do some kind of elite sporting thing. A VO2 max of 90 may be required for breaking the 10-second 100 meters record. So it kind of sets a ceiling. It's kind of your maximum activity that you can do. And as you can imagine, if your maximum is a little bit lower than an activity that you think you can realistically do in your old age, you won't be able to do that activity. And that's why it's extremely important for us to be thinking about VO2 max now and training it and getting it high up into a point, so then it will decline to a level where we can still do the things we love, like pick our great-grandchildren off the floor, put suitcases into overhead lockers, all that stuff, guys. It's very, very important, and it can be trained and improved. Strength. Now, this is also important. Building muscle, it prevents injury, guys. Building muscle does several things. Like I said before, decreases chance of injury. It actually increases your body's need for calories. So you might gain weight in the beginning going to the gym, but in the long run, it's going to be better for you because it will burn more body fat because your body needs more energy to keep going. And hey, look, makes you look good. But it's got more of a function than just looking good, because being strong means that you're resistant to everyday hits. And this is what I was saying with reduces fatigue. If you, trip and fall, and you've got strong muscles and bones, you won't break a hip. If you're weak and have weak bones and weak muscles, you fall, you break a hip. So Peter argues that grip strength is a very, very important factor in strength. So this is a lot of aspect that gym bros overlook. But grip strength is your interface with the world. I'm using my grip strength right now to pick up and drink this tea. It's everything. I can pick up my laptop with grip strength, everything. I interface myself with the world. I can mark a footy, I can do everything. And this requires strong hands and grip. And we can actually see, I don't know who came up with this study, but we can see there's a direct correlation between grip strength and Alzheimer's preventative measures, which is just actually crazy. Like, who comes up with it to find a correlation like this? But we can see that grip strength is extremely important. And Peter has a lofty standard for those in middle age. I don't currently even reach this standard myself, and I'm in my 20s. So he has a high expectations because strength, like VO2 Max, rapidly declines with age. So I'd urge everyone to get there. And I'll make a video tomorrow myself at the gym, seeing where I stack up to Peter's strength standards. So if you're keen to see what they are, check out that video. This brings us to the final aspect of exercise, and that is stability. Stability is the foundation for which our pillars of cardio and strength are built upon. Stability is, your stability in the hips, knees, your inability to not get injured and perform tasks without the risk of injury. So he uses this really good analogy, and I'll use it. Imagine a really souped up high horsepower road car versus a race car, which might actually have less horsepower in the engine. But because the race car is lower to the ground, it's aerodynamically designed to be more stable, you can handle the race course a bit better. And you're actually faster and better than the street car with more horsepower. So as is like stability. If you have very stable joints, you're able to transmit force through your body and be able to just move in space a bit more efficiently. We all know those wiry guys in the gym who are putting up ridiculous numbers because they're just strong, they're stable, they're able to use what they've got. So because correcting weaknesses and balances is such a specific issue. Like, everyone has different imbalances. I have a weak knee, for instance, weak left knee. Some people might have shoulders stability issues. I highly urge you to seek out professional help with this, or in the forms of a physiotherapist or any kind of sports coach, just anyone that can help you to correct your weaknesses and correct them early, because they will just compound over time so we can be strong and stable individuals. Sorry, I couldn't give you any advice. Not within my scope. This brings us to our second segment, diet. Diet is extremely important, guys. We hear the old adage, you are what you eat. It's kind of true. If you eat cheeseburgers and hamburgers, if you eat processed foods, you're kind of going to become a processed food. If you eat natural whole foods, you'll be a natural whole food, if that makes sense. So yeah, for instance, over this last weekend, I went away, I ate junk, lots of junk, and I felt like junk. So, it's kind of put me off eating junk food, at least for a little bit. But life's about balance. If most of the time you eat whole foods, you should most of the time be all right. And so this is quite interesting. You need to find what works for you. So I think we all kind of know intuitively what foods are good and what foods are bad. And this is where the real confusion begins, because, you know, we've got people like keto, people like vegan, carnivore, all these little diets. But there's no real one diet, guys. There's no real one thing. And anyone who tells you there's one thing to follow, he's a guru. We don't listen to gurus, we listen to bros. Peter Attia is a bro. Listen to him. Right now, I'm losing weight because I've got this bet on with my mates. One mate in particular. He's got to put on 8 kilos because he's a scrawny guy. I've got to lose 14. That's the goal. And if we don't reach our goals by the end of the year, we have to pay the other guy $500. And you know, I'm pretty good. I'm down 5-6 kilos since the start of the year, because during the week I'm eating healthy most of the time, and then on the weekends when I know I'm not going to eat healthy, I fast. I skip breakfast, and then I can be a bit flexible, because you know there's 3 ways. Ooh, hey babe. What was I talking about?
You were talking.
Oh yeah, fasting and stuff. Yeah. Because one way or another, if you want to lose weight, you got to restrict yourself somehow, whether that be calorie restriction, reducing the amount of calories that you actually eat, nutrient restriction, which is where you reduce a certain type of food, like keto, carnivore, whatever, or time restriction, like intermittent fasting. Now, like I'm saying, you don't have to do just one of these. You can do a combination of these things, because we're not dogmatic about the approaches we choose to diet like some people are. So I'm just going to briefly go over all the macronutrients and what I gleaned from the book, just real quick. You got 4 types of macronutrients. I'm just going to go right off the bat. The first one, alcohol. Don't need it, useless. 7 to 8 calories per gram. It's a toxin, just don't consume it, it's useless, whatever. Then we have the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, they're a primary source of fuel for the body. These are found in everything. Like, people hear carbs and they go, oh, carbs. Guys, broccoli's a carb, vegetables are carbs. Vegetables are good for you, eat your vegetables. Vegetables are good, guys, eat your vegetables. Carbs are good. So, but the thing is, your body doesn't need carbs. It is preferred source of fuel for high impact activities. It's your brain, it's preferred source of fuel. But, you know, you can live without it. You can restrict carbs if you need be. Now, if you go keto, guys, I hate to break it to you, but most of the weight you're going to lose is probably water weight, because depleting your muscles of carbohydrates, it just depletes your muscles of water. And for the most part, you probably will lose weight because you're restricting calories in some way. But hey, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just a bro. Anyway, carbs, decent. You know, not bad. If you want to eat carbs, go for it. If you don't, you know, stuff that's mainly carbs, there's a lot of micronutrients in it. It's good for energy. Go nuts. All right, next one, protein. 100% important, guys. 4 calories per gram, but has a high thermic effect, so it burns a lot of calories just going through your digestive system. Satiating, so you eat protein, you're going to feel full. Just try and eat like 10 chicken breasts, and you know, you tell me if you're not full. It also is like the building blocks for building your house, building the muscle. So, you know, have you ever tried to build a house without materials? No, you can't do it. So protein is like the materials. It's like the bricks and mortar. You need it. Non-negotiable, get your protein in. You know, there's a range, I can't remember the range, but what I do remember is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I guess for me, I'm about 210 pounds or something. Got to get that many grams of protein in. Now that's like the absolute, that's the max. You probably don't need to go beyond this. If you go a bit below this, that's fine too. Depends on your goals. If you're cutting, get more protein in. You know, there's so many places on YouTube you can read about this. People smarter than me. You know, this is well not within my scope of expertise, but that's all right. Just get your protein in. Next one, fats. Fats, pretty important, but also the highest calorie thing on this list. So 9 calories per gram. That's a lot. That's hefty. So, but very important, because fats are used to create all kinds of hormones like testosterone, cortisol, maintain your cell membrane integrity. Fats, very, very important. And, used as fuel when you do that kind of zone 2 training. So, look, fats are good. Eat fats. Don't go low fat. Low fat means high sugar, and sugar's not good. I guess from all this, guys, you can just say, don't overcomplicate things. Eat the good stuff most of the time. You know what the good stuff is. Stuff your grandma would have recognized. Shop the perimeter of the supermarket, all that good stuff. Just eat the good stuff most of the time. Don't overcomplicate things. Keep the dogma out of it. You're good. All right, next one. Sleep. We often try and cut sleep out of it. Just don't. Just get your 7 to 9 hours, guys. So important. Now, this book, he touched a lot about sleep, but another great book, and look, I might not talk a lot about sleep in this video, because I might down the track talk about one of my favorite books called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. So I'll, maybe keep that on the DL. But point is here are some tips to get you sleep. Sleep in as cold and dark and quiet of a room as possible. Just think, when we didn't live in houses before, we've been built to sleep where it's cold, like no noise, in the middle of the wilderness, where it's dark and, did I say cold? And quiet, except when there's like a tiger that wants to eat us, but then we're going to be awake. And see, a tiger and a car probably have the same noise level. So if you see a car, you're probably going to be awake or not have as good of a sleep as possible. So wear your earplugs, get your eye mask, just, get something. Now, another piece of advice that I can give you, and it's actually was the number one piece of advice in Matt Walker's book as well. Try and get up at the same time every day. If you have to choose between changing, what time you go to bed and changing what time you get up, try and change the time you go to bed. Because look, life happens. You want to party, but try and pick a time when you get up and stick to it, guys. Your body has this rhythm called the circadian rhythm. It's like your sleep rhythm. If your sleep rhythm goes all out of whack, you'll go out of whack too. Now, the third bit of advice that I can give you, exogenous compounds like melatonin and alcohol, they might seem good, get you to sleep, relax you. See, another reason why you don't take alcohol. Why do you drink, guys? Why do you drink? Come on. You're better than this. Don't drink. Just don't drink. Anyway, melatonin and alcohol, they might feel good for depress you, but you actually have a disturbed sleep from these things. And a melatonin-induced sleep isn't as good of a sleep. So, if you struggle and you need it to get to sleep, I'd urge you to go see a sleep doctor or a sleep expert who may be able to help you restore your natural sleep patterns. Because I know, some people struggle with sleep. I personally don't. I sleep like a baby most nights, but, focus on sleep, guys. And that's another thing too. I guess a fourth little bonus tip, just spend a lot of money on sleeping. Get the chili pad, I'm not sponsored by any of these things. Get the koala mattress in Australia. Get the best mattress, pillow, sleep accessories you can. You sleep 1/3 of your lives, guys. Think of all the money you're going to earn in your life. It's probably, if you're in a first world, you're probably going to earn at least $1 million over your entire life, guys. Let's be real. You've got to spend $330,000 on sleep in order to get the maximum utility out of it. Just spend money on sleep, guys. You won't regret it. You have the best sleep. You have the best life because you're spending your money on what matters. So the final point we have is mental health. And look, I'm going to be real here. Mental health is so important, and it's overlooked, especially for us blokes. We do overlook it, but there's a lot of sad blokes and sad women these days. But look, what's the point of living long and healthy lives if you're depressed, if you're sad, if you're lonely? Loneliness, I've got no studies to back this up, but it's directly, you can see a decline in your grandparents if they're lonely. I saw it in my grandparents before they died. And so unfortunate. You know, ring someone, tell them how much you love them, guys. We're connected. We are so connected these days, but we are lonelier than ever. So ring someone, tell them how much you care about them, how much you mean to them, how much they mean to you rather. And look, trauma is very important. So trauma is your perceived unhelplessness. So children, you know, things that an adult could probably handle, a normal adult can handle. A child sees these things, for instance, say, probably not trauma in any way that I know, it's probably getting a bit heavy, but like, you know, a real experience in my life. Like there are 3 times in my life where I could feel like genuinely scared. 2 of those, fair enough, got assaulted, nearly drowned. Pretty crazy. But the first one that I ever experienced was we were just in a lightning storm and I ran home because I was scared. And my mum walked home and I was terrified for her that I'd lost my mum. But, you know, she just walked home because it was just a normal thunderstorm and she came home all right. And I was so sad. You know, it may have traumatized me in a way because I remember it being as bad as being assaulted by a junkie in the street and nearly drowning. 2 things that are objectively way worse than your mum taking a little longer than you when it starts to rain. But you see, like this stuff, you know, it can affect us. No one has had a perfect upbringing. No one's had a perfect life. But it's important to talk about this stuff. Get it out so we can have a healthy rest of our lives, healthy future. What do you want to be remembered for? There are kind of 2 virtues in this life that Peter touches upon, and they're called resume virtues, which are just stuff, what will look good on my resume? You know, get the promotion, get the 6-figure salary, get the car, you know, get the course, get the accreditations, get all these things that will look so good on your resume. But when you're 80, will you really care about it? Will you really? And then there's legacy virtues. How good of a person you were. You know, at your funeral, these are the virtues that people are going to bring up. He was a very kind man. He was a very generous man. Legacy virtues, guys. Build yourself up to have these legacy virtues in your life. And look, you can probably think of stuff that's very important to you. And that's at your, I guess, level that you can give. But these are more important than resume virtues. And look, I know Peter goes through his own anecdote in the book, and I'm going to let you read the book to figure it out because it's very heavy. Probably the most important chapter of the book. But look, I guess the final note I can leave you with is if you're struggling with any mental battles, see someone. Honestly, talk to someone about it. Okay, so to wrap up this whole video, the overall message isn't anything different to what we've heard before. Longevity is a long-term game and we've got to take steps and be proactive, use these tactics now if we want to get to our old age and live health and lives full of vitality. You know, like it's a long game, guys. It's an investment. You got to put in now to see the gains in the future. Everything is like that, guys. So yeah, use these tactics as you will. Oh, okay, so review time. Real quick, not going to dwell on it. You know how I felt about it. 5 out of 5 stars. Let's go. Hope you found this review as useful as it was as for me to read the book. It was really great, guys. Check out more of my videos when I put them up on good book reviews. I'm looking to do kind of podcasty kind of book reviews with mates. But let me know what you think. And yeah, any criticisms, feedbacks, any book recommendations, just let me know down below and have a good one.